Yeah, that was pretty creepy. Welcome back to the Haunted Beard, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Well, I have just got back to my house from the theater. It's been about 15-20 minutes ago. I got home, set up my camera stuff, and wanted to give you my review for Longlegs. This is probably my second most anticipated movie of the year behind Nosferatu, but yeah, I was very, very much looking forward to this one. And this review is probably going to be very raw, as I haven't had a whole lot of time to put my thoughts together. However, I still wanted to kind of give a review of my initial reaction, and then most likely I'll probably follow this up in a couple days with a full-out spoiler review and everything like that. But anyways, let's get into this thing. So you probably know the basic plot here. You've got Micah Monroe playing Detective Lee Harker, and of course Nicolas Cage playing the serial killer Longlegs. And this one was directed by Oz Perkins, who this is his fourth feature film. And his first film, Blackcoat's Daughter, is one of my favorites. I really, really like that film. His other two films, I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in This House and the Hansel and Gretel, I enjoyed them more from kind of a visual perspective, but didn't really get into the film beyond that, at least in terms of story and characters or anything like that. And so Oz Perkins is someone who has made a really strong impact visually. His movies really stick with you from a visual perspective, but some of the narratives I found a bit lacking, but I knew that if he could ever get a stronger story underneath him, he could really leave an impact. But let's get into Longlegs, because this film has quite a bit going for it. First of all, the atmosphere in this is phenomenal. To me, it's about as good as it gets. This movie is deeply unsettling and just creepy. So if you like movies like that, absolutely, you're going to love this thing. And I mean, obviously Perkins should be commended for that. And, you know, we've seen what he's capable of with his other three movies. And I think this one, he even ups it to another level. And if you're a fan of his other films, I would certainly expect you to enjoy Longlegs. But yeah, just the atmosphere and the vibes of this thing are phenomenal. And typically when I describe a movie as creepy or unsettling, you know, there's usually maybe a handful of sequences here and there that kind of give you those vibes. Well, I would say practically this entire film, like almost every scene of the movie, just the way it's shot and presented, it just gives you that very unsettled, nightmarish, creepy, eerie sort of vibes. It runs through pretty much the entire film. So from an atmospheric perspective, this thing is off the charts effective. And to expand on that a little bit, some of the flavors that you're getting here, certainly there are some comparisons to be made, like A Silence of the Lambs, a little bit of Zodiac, maybe a touch of Seven. And I know I'm comparing this to some like all-time classics, and I don't know if I'm quite prepared to say yet that this movie is at that level, but there are definite similarities in just sort of the flavors and the vibes between those movies and Longlegs. And one of the things I like most about Perkins is how he presents and how he films scenes. And you get a lot, his films are a little more slower paced, but that really, again, kind of complements just the whole atmosphere and the vibe that he's trying to go for. And it really works well here in Longlegs. You get just more wider shots, a little more slower pace, longer shots, extended takes, and things like that. And it kind of just lets the film breathe. Like he's not in a rush. He's patient. He takes his time. And it's just almost a bit of a slow burn type thing, but it just has, through the way he presents and shoots the film, it just really lends to, again, just that very unsettling, creepy atmosphere. One of the things, too, that he does is he knows kind of when to use musical score and when to refrain from using it. And sometimes just the silence is like the scariest sound kind of thing. And so he does a good job kind of mixing score in while also, you know, cutting it totally out and just letting the movie be kind of silent and quiet, which again, just really works. And so I can't really compliment just the atmosphere of this movie enough. It's fantastic. The visuals are really good too. Just like his shot selection and stuff like that. And it's just really well done. The performances are great. I mean, of course, everybody is going to be talking about Nicolas Cage, and yeah, he's he's pretty great. I thoroughly enjoyed his performance. Honestly, probably one of the creepiest looking characters I've maybe ever seen in any horror movie. Just, man, nightmare inducing. Very creepy. Just his voice inflection and how he delivers his lines. Some people might think it's a bit over the top or a bit maybe over theatrical, but I thought it was just fantastic. I think Perkins does a good job too in that Cage is in the movie a decent amount, but not a whole lot. And so I think that was a good choice too, to kind of not overuse him, because I mean, he steals the scene, right? All eyes are on him. You can't take your eyes off him, kind of thing. And in a way, I think just given the nature of his performance, if he would have used him too much, it might have just been almost too much. And so, you know, the film has to be able to kind of stand on its own outside of just Nicolas Cage's performance, and I think it does that. But yeah, Cage is phenomenal, and I can't wait to watch this movie again just simply for his performance. But I also think Maika Monroe deserves a shout out, because she's kind of the foundation. I mean, she's really the main character of this movie and is in practically every single scene. So she has to carry this thing, and she does a really good job. I like her character. She's an interesting one. She's a little hard to kind of figure out. It just, her character and her personality is just a little bit different. And, you know, she's not the most kind of personable, social type person. She's just a little bit different. But I think the way that Monroe portrays it does just a fantastic job. And some of the sequences and sort of what she has to react to and go through in terms of just how, you know, how she carries herself and how she performs in some of these pretty crazy messed up scenes is just really well done. And so I think she should be commended. Obviously, you know, Cage is going to kind of get most of the mentions and the conversation around the acting in this movie, but Maika Monroe shouldn't be overlooked. She does a really good job. Now, in terms of the story, I'm just a sucker in general for murder mysteries, and so this is kind of, you know, right up my alley. I like the sort of police procedural aspect as well. I like kind of getting into the details and the clues and stuff like that. And so in a way, the movie is a bit slower paced because it's kind of more focusing on Monroe's character and the investigation and stuff like that. Now, the execution of it is good. I would say I've seen it done better, you know, particularly I think Zodiac to me is kind of like the golden standard. That's like about as perfect as you can execute sort of a serial killer murder mystery. And so I wouldn't say the film is quite on that level, but I did find the story for the most part satisfying. Again, a lot of this is just kind of raw in just sort of my initial reaction, but there's a couple things, particularly as it comes towards the end, that I'm still kind of thinking through, that I'm not really sure. So I kind of have a couple questions, and obviously I'm not going to get into any spoilers or anything like that. Really my only sort of, I guess, criticism, at least initially with the movie, has to do a little bit with the ending, and I'll keep this very vague. So it's not really so much what happens, it's just kind of how it happens, or how the information of something is relayed to the audience. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of the elements of the movie are executed at an extremely high level. The performances are fantastic. I like the editing and just the kind of the overall presentation of it in terms of how it's shot, how it's paced. And again, the atmosphere is fantastic. I really can't. The atmosphere is a 10 out of 10, in my opinion. I think it's just fantastic. The story, while it is good, it's perhaps not quite to the level of the rest of the stuff in the movie, but overall, I had a good time with this. I would say the best indicator on how much you're going to enjoy this and what you're going to think of it really has to do with if you've seen Perkins's his debut film, Black Coat's Daughter. I would kind of judge your expectations of Longlegs based on that if you've seen that movie. And so I'm a huge fan of that movie. I think it's great, which is why I largely really enjoyed this film. But that is a film that I can totally see not being for everybody. But if you like the vibes and you like what he did in that movie, I certainly think you would quite enjoy Longlegs. And so, yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of my initial unfiltered thoughts. So, yeah. That's all I got for you. You know, as far as a grade on this thing, I'm probably initially, I don't know, I'm like at maybe 8, 8.5, kind of somewhere right in there. But yeah, I had a good time with it. It's, you know, it's worth watching just for Nicolas Cage alone, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a good time. So I am going to go watch something funny before I go to bed. And yeah, there you go. So hit me up down below. Let me know your thoughts on this thing. If you saw it, would love to hear from you. And yeah, most likely going to do a spoiler review here in the next couple days. So be looking out for that as well. So thank you so much for watching. If you got anything out of this video, you know what to do. Go ahead and do me a favor. Do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.